What's going on, guys? It's DB the Prophet here, and I'm doing this video as a message to the Black men in America about what Black women need from us, right? We've hearing about red pill society. We're hearing about the degradation between the relationships between Black men and women, and this is something we need to talk about. So first and foremost, you were put through trauma in America that is taking you out of your natural state as a spiritual being. It has separated you from your culture, your philosophy, and your leadership role in society. So, understanding what Black women need to turn this thing around from us is Black women need to feel protected from the world when they're in the company of Black men. In a world where Black women are at the end of criticism, they're at the brunt end of colorism and prejudice. Black men should feel like their safe space, and being able to find all that they need within us is the only way we are going to achieve any sense of cultural pride. The reason why Black women are not able to feel proud of us as Black men is because through our shared oppression here in America, what has happened is our ability to provide for the women in our culture has been diminished through a system of oppression. Understanding that this is a shared struggle and it is not just occurring to Black women, right, helps us to humanize each other and realize that neither of us are at fault for the situation that we have been placed in together. But if we want to change things, we have to realize that we are in that struggle together. Another thing is that the Black red pill culture is about advertising where women have failed instead of displaying powerful Black leadership and being effective at teaching our Black women how to grow with us. One of the major issues right now is that because we don't own property, we don't own businesses, and we don't own land, most of us are not in a position to empower our women to create a culture within the resources, land, and things that we have to provide for our women and children. And lastly, I want to say that it's all of our jobs as Black men to provide the land, the crops, the resources, and spaces for our women to thrive in. So, Black entrepreneurship is the only path to our freedom as a group until Black women are able to get jobs, resources, marriage, children, all those things that go into um, preserving a culture. And if unless they're able to get all of those things from us, we will continue to be divided in this country. That was a good start, but let's dive deeper. One of the biggest reasons why Black women cannot depend on us is because when we've been displaced from what our cultural ethics are, we don't have any cultural ethics here in America. We don't have a desire to preserve ourselves. We've been programmed through slavery, through Jim Crow laws, through mass media messaging. The media is already putting us in a position where um, the darker side of being Black is always on display for the world to see. And it's displayed so much that we lose faith in who we are. That's why the biggest part of this is cultural pride. If you can't be proud of who you are in America, the culture as it stands is going to be degraded, right? And that's why you see right now where men don't believe in love anymore, women don't believe in love anymore. The Black race in the United States is not doing any long-term or future planning. And when I talk about Black women needing to feel protected from the world, guys, we have made so much progress since 1960, 1970. We've made so much progress since we gained the rights that other races had in this country prior to coming here. And where we're headed in the future now is giving up the selfish materialism that we have adopted through our oppression. So, because we've been oppressed in America and we're used to poverty, we're used to not owning things, and we're working in a system that we did not create. We're working in a system of fiat currency. We're living in a debt society where nothing is paid for and everyone lives beyond their means, right? Because of those things, there are not spaces that are not run by other cultures for us to enjoy. So, for example, to show you how deep this programming is, if Black women could go out on a Friday night and know that the place that they're going to is going to be owned by a black person. The building is going to be owned by someone black. The business is going to be that occupies that space is going to be owned by someone black. Now, whenever an issue arises where not only is that going to keep conflicts from coming up, because you got to remember the black woman as a mother in society, right, is constantly being uh xed out of powerful positions because every other race and culture competes with the black woman, right, is going to try their best to hold her down in a sense. And then you have dark-skinned women who are suffering from the highest degrees of colorism in art, in music, all these different things. We as black men are not being accountable enough in understanding that all women, no matter what race they are supposed to be able to depend on the men in their own culture. And when that doesn't happen, there's no cultural pride, right? So one of black people's biggest problems is we don't value ourselves enough to have the kind of pride that will make us rise up and say, together as a unit, we need to do better in terms of being able to control land, crops, right? And spaces. If we own land, we can create spaces that black women thrive and flourish in. But that's not what's happening here in America. And instead, we're getting further away from each other. We don't believe in each other as much. And you got to believe this is all part of the plan. Because if they can get the black race in America to be divided, they can get us to have children outside of our race, right? And essentially, they can deplete our bloodline generation after generation. This is a generational bloodline war. And they want to phase blackness out in 100 years. And how do they do this? They separate the organization and the unity between black men and black women. And American culture, Black American culture is really just American culture. You guys have heard me talk about that in previous videos. But if you really think about it, if if white people created the laws, created the financial system that we live under, then essentially Black American culture is white culture, right? So what we have to do is we have to realize that as Black Americans and as Blacks in general, historically, we have always produced very socialistic like communities where we didn't need um, Roman law or contract law to govern us doing what is in the best interest of our group. And the way that they beat us is essentially from getting us to working as a group to getting us to think like individuals and only to care about the interest of self. And I talk about this all the time, but like, I want you guys to just imagine, like, how is it possible? And we're seeing some breakthroughs, but how is it possible that there's a lot of new billionaires in the community and we have not started building cities yet? Why is it that we don't see a lot of the most successful Black Americans that we have creating actual communities that have infrastructure to support the Black women and the Black children? Because we've already been pre-programmed to only pursue that which is in our own interest, not in the interest of us as a group. Okay. So I said all that to say, talking about another thing, I want to talk about the Red Pill Society, right? In the Red Pill Society, there's a lot of popular YouTubers that are speaking on the Red Pill community, which is the I don't know what to call it, the men who feel like they are unplugging from feminine programming. And because Black women in America have adopted white feminism culture in a lot of ways, there are a lot of beliefs and expectations that have been placed on Black men on behalf of Black women being able to be programmed by other races of women. Everything boils down to programming. When Black men are in a position to control land, to control business enterprises, and to control to be able to control infrastructure, that puts us in a position of power that allows Black women to only be working under the programs of people of their own culture. And that gives us a sense of cultural pride. So the biggest message to Black men in America right now is see that our future doesn't exist without Black entrepreneurship. And what we're seeing now is that we have a lot of rich Black employees still in America. It's okay to make $100 million in the NBA, but a lot of these people have $100 million, right? But they're still controlled because someone else is writing that check for them. They work for the company that is the NBA, the company that is the NFL. And with that comes the responsibility of doing that which is in the best interest of the company, which is the NBA and NFL. But what happens is sometimes the interest of the company isn't in the best interest of the culture. So we have rich slaves. We have people who can be made to shut up or keep quiet when things are happening that go against what's good for the group, because the NBA, we don't control that. The NFL, we don't control that. And so now what there's a need for more than anything is seeing us own land, seeing us control commerce, and seeing us control infrastructure. And once we have our own systems of infrastructure, right, the power dynamic will shift again. Because what they do is because we're placed in a position of poverty in America where in the 60s, 70s, 80s, a lot of Black men were so poor that they turned to crime in order to survive, which removed them from the homes. And this displaced the role of the Black woman in the homes for such a long period of time that women adapted to there being no men in their homes. And now they have lost all sense of their domestic selves, right? Or a lot of their feminine qualities don't show up anymore because year after year, decade after decade, Black women have been more than to be feminine nurturers and all of those things. And I'm not saying that everything is for everybody. I'm not saying that every Black woman is supposed to sit at home and cook all day. I'm not at all putting anybody in a box. I'm not making any claims to what a Black woman is supposed to be doing. But what I do know for sure is that Black women should have the options to support themselves financially through the employment and opportunities and the men who belong in our community, because they are our responsibility. And because white feminism is programming Black women to have an expectation of Black men that white women have for white men, there's now a disconnect between Black women and Black men, right? And Black women now want Black men to behave like men of other cultures, because all different cultures have different standards, rules, guidelines, and cultural norms that belong to their people. But as we've been displaced from the knowledge of ourselves, we have adopted the belief systems of other cultures, which is causing division from within. And what I want to see happening and what I want to be a part of in this online space and in these conversations is what I see from like Red Pill Society, from like the Fresh and Fit podcast. And I'm not here to disparage any of those podcasters or anybody that produces content and has a point of view about certain things. But at some point, there are real world consequences to not addressing this with any urgency to actually provide a solution to that problem. So the biggest issue I hold with Red Pill Society, the Fresh and Fit podcast, the whatever podcast, is when I see the way that people communicate with their female audiences. It's always about an I got you moment, or it's always presented in a way because it's very hard. Women are very egotistical. It's very hard for women to, a lot of the times, to accept criticism because of the challenges that feminine women face. It causes them to have certain traumas that make it hard for them to be subject to scrutiny and somebody telling them that they need to change something. But I think that in order for us to move forward, there needs to be a level of patience and solution oriented discussions that help women to see uh things that will get them back on program with their black men so that we move forward as a group, because we cannot move forward individually. Does that make sense? So guys, I'm just shooting this video real quick. I was just thinking about this and I'm like, man, let me jump online and do a quick video and see what you guys think about what I'm sharing. And I want to hear from you in the comment section. If you guys have been getting some value though from these videos, I would really appreciate it if you would smash the like button for me one time, and also hit the subscribe button on this channel, because I'm going to be dropping a lot of content talking about various issues that I see happening within this online space. And I hope to be a solution to it and helping black men and black women communicate with each other in a much better way so we can see restoration and healing happen in the community. I appreciate you guys for watching this video. If you made it to the whole thing, I'm about to jump off of here, but I'm going to be back with another video tomorrow. So I'm going to catch you guys later. All right. Peace.